right? He was one of the chiefs of Medina. فَنَهَانِي قَوْمِي, and my people stopped me, as they should, right? To not go and see my father in that state, because what good is going to come out of seeing your father in that state? And he said, but at that point, when he was eventually seen, that there was this loud voice that came out. A woman shouted. And it was his sister or his daughter. His sister or his daughter. The Prophet ﷺ asked, who is that? And he said, it's his sister or his daughter. The Prophet ﷺ responded. He said, فَلَا تَبْكِي مَا زَالَتِ الْمَلَائِكَةُ تُظِلُّهُ بِأَجْنِحَتِهَا حَتَّى رُفِعَ. So I swear by Allah that the angels have shaded him with their wings until he was raised up. Is the Prophet ﷺ just giving generic advice? Is he just, throwing something out there that might land with her? Is the Prophet ﷺ speaking again to the root of the problem? You see what you see. You see a body that is missing some of its natural parts. I see an extension that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given to it. You see Ja'far without arms. I see him with the wings flying around Jannah. You see your father laying on the ground, the blood flowing and seeping into the ground, barely recognizable. I see a man that is ascending to the heavens with the angels shading him. How do we deal with this, dear brothers and sisters? SubhanAllah, there is a divine scheme, and there is a wisdom to how we approach the divine scheme. And it comes down to two things: time and value. وَالْآخِرَةُ خَيْرٌ وَأَبْقَى. The hereafter is better and everlasting. Time and value. وَلَأَجْرُ الْآخِرَةِ. And the reward of the hereafter is better and longer lasting. Meaning, anytime we are struck with a situation like this, if we're struck with a pain in this world, we remember that it is a limited time and that the reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be greater than the pain that was felt here. When we face some sort of a worldly trial, we remember how temporary it is. When the body is devastated, we remember that the soul will go on, and that what happens to the body is limited, whereas what the soul is rewarded with is greater. And so, how do we deal with all of these situations? It is a consistent methodology from the Prophet ﷺ that something has to be better than this in order to deal with what's immediate in front of us. This isn't it. You are seeing with a very particular lens, but this is not it. And every single time we see a body that is desecrated, we have to remember that. And every single time we see someone who seems unrecognizable, we have to remember that. What would the Prophet ﷺ had said to us if he was walking around the way he did in Uhud, if he was walking around Gaza and he was comforting those families? He would have reminded them, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that this is not it. That what has happened to them is temporary and limited. And the reward of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is comprehensive and forever, everlasting. But with that being said, and I want to come to this, at the end of the day, we're all human. We're all human. And the Prophet ﷺ lost someone so beloved to him on that day, Hamza radiallahu ta'ala anhu. And we know how Hamza was desecrated radiallahu ta'ala anhu. And the Prophet ﷺ, he told Zubair to stop Safiya bint Abdul Muttalib, the sister of Hamza, from coming forward, because he knew that if Safiya saw the body of Hamza, that it was going to be absolutely devastating to her. So even though the Prophet ﷺ is in his pain, standing over the body of Hamza radiallahu anhu, he says, go stop your mom. And she wouldn't stop until Az-Zubayr said that the Prophet ﷺ orders you to stop. Otherwise, if it was just her son, she kept on walking towards the body of Hamza radiallahu anhu. Now with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, one of the athar that's narrated from the Prophet ﷺ is as he was standing over Hamza radiallahu ta'ala anhu, you'll find it in the books of Seerah, that the Prophet ﷺ said, لَأُمَثِّلَنَّ بِسَبْعِينَ مِنْهُمْ مَكَانَكَ. I will mutilate 70 of them in your place.